Top of the morning to you, Alf. Happy Friday. We've got a cool flashback conversation, a clip from a talk that I had with Chris HOJ from Card Ladder, early Card Ladder days. This is a conversation going back to December 15th, 2020.
And when you look at a $4 or $5 little Beanie Baby that, oh, these are selling for $65 now, or these are $2,000 for the really rare ones. And the kids loved them. So we decided to start collecting Beanie Babies. I think that's how it all started.
During the bull market of 2020 in the fall, well, kind of winter time in 2020. And we can kind of draw some comparisons to today. I think that it's going to be fun to watch this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below to some of the similar conversation from literally 5 years ago. And I think it just reminds us of kind of the hills and the valleys of markets, whether we're talking about sports cards or Bitcoin or stock market or whatever it might be. And also today, there's just differences that we didn't have going back to 2020. But this is going to be fun. This is me about 10 pounds lighter during this conversation. Let's go ahead and flip the camera around for this one. And then after that, make sure to stick around. We've got some of the hottest sports cards in the PSA eBay store, some really rad ones that I picked out, vintage baseball, some Michael Jordan stuff. It's going to be cool. So make sure you stay all the way to the end. And don't forget to get $25 off your first PSA submission with the SCD25 code at the shipping and billing screen, 1 card minimum to try out PSA. All right, let's take a look at this clip.
Let's seg into as well, and not even really talking about like sports card pricing, but 2020, obviously a wild banner year for sports cards for a variety of different reasons. What's kind of your, 2021 outlook or even, a couple of year outlook? Not, and again, like not necessarily price wise, but just, maybe hobby innovations or hobby changes or anything about, anything that you see, new product pricing is through the roof. You just talked about like 2018 Prism hobby boxes at $200. Like, is that ever going to happen again? Is it, or do we have to wait till like 2040 Prism for it to be, $200 again?
Terrific questions. One thing I will talk about, it does involve the market a bit, but I think it's insightful and it speaks to the hobby. In 2020, we saw 2 big market retractions that were very scary to people, definitely to me. Maybe it's just because I'm a guy who literally looks at tens of thousands of eBay sales every day. But when I was looking at these things, it was very, very scary. So the first one was the sort of buying and spending freeze in the hobby that happened for about the first month after COVID-19 stay-at-home orders began. We saw some phenomenal things happen, data point of view. Like, I think on one day, something like 50 Devin Booker Prism PSA 10 rookie cards sold. That number is a guesstimate because I don't have the exact one off the top of my head. But like, there was a day in mid-March where that happened. Like, people just absolutely dumping their collections because they got extremely nervous. And the hobby, was looking pretty bearish. It was looking pretty bearish. But as we all know, things turned around quite a bit. Some people attribute it to the stimulus packages that were passed. I think there's some truth to that. Some people like myself put an emphasis on The Last Dance and how that documentary coming out corresponded with a lot of people coming back to the hobby. I think there's some truth to that. People emphasize that after a while of being under stay-at-home orders, people suddenly had this surplus money. They were still working. For those people who were fortunate enough to telecommute, they were still working, but they weren't able to go out to eat. They weren't able to go to video to athletic performances. They weren't able to go to movies. They weren't able to go out and buy stuff. So all of a sudden they have some extra money. People are looking for sports entertainment. So all of a sudden they're watching breaks on YouTube and stuff like that. And I think the hobby actually had a period of phenomenal growth during the beginning of the stay-at-home orders. Then the NBA season resumed. All those new people who had been back in the hobby were just speculating like crazy on the prospects and the vets, active players that were being speculated on like crazy. And then you had the first domino to fall, I think, with Giannis in the Bucks early from the playoffs. And that corresponded to a massive, once again, retraction in prices, where in the case of Giannis, his Prism PSA 10 lost half of its value, literally half of it. But he wasn't the only one. Even Anthony Davis cards experienced a retraction from their all-time highs that were set in August, and he won the championship. So nobody was immune. The hobby just had a hobby-wide pullback in most sectors. And once again, it was a very scary period. And I was just like, how are people going to respond to this? Are people going to be okay with this? Do people like sports cards like me? And if they lose value, they don't really care. They're just loving this hobby and they're going to find their way in it and they're going to persevere. Or are people going to bail? What's going to happen? And what ultimately happened was people persevered. And now here in December 2020, we're in, yet another unprecedented bull run in the hobby, especially when it comes to basketball cards. Now, football cards is a slightly different story. I've personally been on the losing end of having bought some active players. I bought some nice Christian McCaffrey cards. I know those are probably only worth half of what I paid for them going into the season. That happens too. That's healthy. I hate it that it happened, but I still love the cards. I'm still keeping them in my PC for the long haul as I always intended. That's healthy. Everything shouldn't be up and to the right. But the point of my story here.
You'd rather have a card too than like lost it at FanDuel or something like, the weekly fantasy where it's like, oh, I lost again,
Yes,
like,
that's a great point too. But I tell that story because when I look at 2021 and I try to think, what are we in for? The one thing that I am most at ease about is the resilience and the perseverance of the market participants in sports cards. People just love sports cards. They have been through two like dips on the roller coaster of sports cards over a very short period of time, and the hobby has recovered and rebounded magnificently. And these are normal, ebbs and flows. Is very normal. It corresponds to historically the preseason, postseason stuff. All this stuff is very normal. But it was never so profound, and it was all out of order because of how the leagues had resumed and restarted at different times. Like everything was just kind of a mess. But here we are going in this NBA season, and everybody in the hobby itself is doing amazingly well. So when I look at 2021, the first thing I think about is there's going to be more ebbs and flows. But every time we make it through another one, I just feel more and more optimistic and enthusiastic about the hobby. And then to your question about what type of innovations are we in for? I don't know. But that's a terrific question. I think we're going to see more funds. I think we're going to see more attempts at fractional ownership. I think we're going to see something. I don't know. I don't know what to say about PSA except that the fact that it's something like $700 million to $750 million or something like that was the final tender offer that was made to acquire Collectors Universe. And when that amount of money is being put into the hobby, I mean, from some very intelligent and sophisticated people who decided to get involved in our hobby, in our industry, that's a pretty big vote of confidence in the industry going forward. So I look forward to seeing what happens at PSA, assuming that deal closes successfully. I just the one thing that I'm not 100% sure of, but that I ask is that the hobbyists, the collectors, the investors, everybody never lose sight of what got us to where we are, and never lose sight of the fundamentals of sports cards and what makes sports cards what they are and why we love it so much. Sometimes there's this understandable urge to commoditize everything and to just make sports cards into data points and to miss out on why we love cards. That's the one thing I hope is that we don't ever lose sight of all that history that got us up to this point, and that we remember what makes sports cards so great. As long as we do that, 2021, I think whatever happens, it'll be fun and exciting to say the least.
Do you think that there is any kind of truth, I guess? And the reason why I ask is I get comments on my videos, just different theories on things, and then also just feedback from viewership. But then I also see it online. I hear it a lot, and because I've heard it so much, I just wonder kind of if there's something to it. Essentially, what people are commenting is like, look, people are buying tangible assets in part because they're concerned about like our national deficit, and they're concerned about the value of the dollar dropping. And so, you're seeing more of like the crypto stuff and the tangible collectible, whether it be, fine art or whatever it is, cards and stuff like that. Cards has definitely seen a boost. Fine art has issues as well just as an industry, but fine art is a $60 billion a year industry or something. It's crazy. I mean, it dwarfs cards. But I think that too, if you see people that are, that are our age, maybe that, like maybe a Nat Turner is not buying a $50 million painting. Maybe he's buying $50 million worth of cards or whatever, you know what I mean? Like maybe that's where, that's where it's going. I don't know, but there was something kind of interesting about the tangible asset piece because it kind of makes sense. I mean, if you think that like the value of the dollar might drop and then you want to just kind of have, be holding something tangible that you can turn, and you're a little bit concerned about it, then I guess I could see why people might speculate on that and act accordingly. But, I don't know if that's just conspiracy theories or whatever,
No, I think there's something to that. I think there's definitely something to that. Sports cards definitely are my art. I'm not an art collector. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I don't have any taste. I would be terrible at it. But sports cards, I get those and I love them. And I like to show them off and everything else. I love the community, the whole nine. So sports cards, that's my art. That's our art. So I like that point quite a bit. I think it's a great point. Then on the topic of tangible assets versus a depreciating dollar, it's a really interesting point. I just wonder, we sort of have a chicken and an egg question here. Are people that rational that they might say, hey, maybe I don't understand or love sports cards, but I'm going to get into it because the dollar is depreciating? Or maybe they say the same thing about crypto. Is that why people are getting involved? Or is it more just, this is for more adventurous people or more, people who are collectors and stuff like that. We get involved in these sort of alternative worlds just by our nature. We're just attracted and gravitate towards stuff like that. And then when we look at rationalizations after the fact, we can say, well, wasn't it smart? After all, the dollar is depreciating. There's a lot of debt issues going on, on and on and on. So I do wonder which comes first.
Welcome back, friends. We've got another hottest sports cards on eBay in the PSA eBay store. We're going to look at vintage baseball cards. We're going to look at some Jordan stuff. We've got a little bit of a variety to go through and even some modern football quarterback stuff that we're going to look at today. Don't forget to get a discount if you are a first-time submitter to PSA, $25 off that first submission with the SCD25 code at the shipping and billing screen. Also, don't forget the options that you have when you're grading cards or buying cards on eBay. You can buy a card on eBay in many cases and send it to the PSA vault. You can grade cards with PSA, send half of them home to you and send half of them to eBay via the PSA vault. Lots and lots of options. PSA now has offer programs through their partners that are buying cards directly right off of grading. So grading cards has never been more fun through PSA, all the different options that you've got at your disposal. All right, let's take a look. The first card, we're going to go right out of the gate with a big one. We've got the 1951 Bowman Willie Mays rookie card. This one is sitting there. I just noticed this, and I don't know if this is new or not on eBay, but it says here, right here in the left corner, that there's one active offer. So the price point here, it's a bin at $19,000 OBO. And the recent sale, I was looking at Card Ladder, and I believe there was a recent sale in about the $14,000 range, $15,000 range. Again, when you're looking at vintage cards, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Which copy is going to be best for each individual collector? And so depending on what you're prioritizing, whether it's the surface, the registration, the corners, the edges, all of that good stuff, the centering. This one is a little bit off-centered. So for people that are really big on centering, this one might not be that copy, but the registration, the picture on this thing looks incredible. It's really tough to beat, a card like this. 1951 Bowman, of course, the Mays and the Mantle rookies came out of this set, and it's just a classic, iconic set. 52 Tops gets all the attention a lot of times and the love, but man, this is just an incredible set. And this card sitting there with an active offer, $19,000, which is higher than the last comp that we saw, but they are accepting offers. So interesting copy of this particular card. Another popular 50 set, I actually love this set, 53 Tops. 53 Tops, actually the Maze in this set is one that I want to add to my collection. At some point in 2026, that will be a target card for me. We've got the 53 Tops Mantle and a PSA 2 here. They started the bidding right at $32.75 with 6 days left at time of recording, ends on Thursday night next week. I was looking at comps on Card Ladder. There was one that recently sold right around this price point. But again, as we've talked about, when you're in the PSA 1, PSA 2, PSA 3 zone, there's going to be a lot of variance between the condition. There might be a crease here or there. There might be a pinhole or something that kicked it down to a 1. And so, again, it just boils down to what are you looking for out of these vintage cards? I will say, though, again, yes, you've got the cards off-centered. Yes, you've got some roughage down here in the bottom left. But the picture looks really good. The face looks really good. A lot of times you'll have, fish eyes, or you'll have just some really bad kind of conditioning stuff on the face. Maybe there's a giant crease on the side of the face or something. This one looks really good. So here you go. You have one where they've started the bid right kind of at that last comp, which I like this because sometimes you do get buy it nows that are, huge buy it nows. And you're like, it's just way above kind of that last sale. This one's sitting right where that last sale was. And again, these early 50s Mantle cards, they're never going out of style. All right, one more Mantle card to talk about, and it is the 52 Tops. It's the big one in a PSA 3. We've got a $79,500 bin or best offer, and I believe Card Ladder showed a recent sale in the 60s, maybe like mid $60,000 range. So it does seem like this one is a little bit higher than that last comp. Some people would say it's a lot higher, but truth is, this is the most iconic card in the entire hobby. Outside of the T206 Honus Wagner, this is the one. So for a lot of people, they're just trying to get into a copy. They're trying to get into a nice enough copy for their collection. This is a great looking copy here, and they are taking offers on it. Had to share this with the 52 Tops sitting there in the PSA eBay store. Now we're going to do a complete 180, and we're going to modern football cards. Drake May been lighting the world on fire here recently with the New England Patriots. We've got the Color Blast PSA 10 rookie year for Drake May. These Color Blasts, out of all the, the downtowns, the kabooms, the Color Blast is my favorite of these kind of modern popular inserts. Huge price tag on this sucker, $12,500 OBO. And I believe if I was looking at Card Ladder, maybe it was an eBay sale. There was one that sold in the $8,800 range, I believe, maybe $9,000. Anyway, so this one, it's got a big price tag, but they will accept offers, of course. So I wonder what this one does go for. Will Drake May continue on being one of these guys that impresses and builds on the legacy? It's hard following Tom Brady's footsteps, but it looks like Drake May is pretty legit watching him play. Impressive guy. The 90s Michael Jordan inserts, man, they continue to roll on. Here's a 1998 Fleer Tradition electrifying number 6 in a PSA 10. Always difficult to get high grades of these cards, and so that's why the 10s, they really go for a lot. This one, though, while I really like the look of the card, cool aesthetic, just totally 90s. This one just screams 90s. This one's at $12,500 bin. I think there might be another one on eBay that's asking for $15,000. There was a recent sale on Card Ladder at about $10,000. So this one about 20% higher than that last sale. The other thing that kind of popped out to me too, and this is really nice, the eBay PSA integration here. The pop count right here, PSA 10s, there's 97 PSA 10s. That feels like a lot to me. You know, look, if you're paying 10 grand for a piece of cardboard or just a Michael Jordan card in general, and there's just so many of these 90s inserts, granted, love this card, very cool. I don't think that it's numbered. I don't believe that it is. You know, but anyway, very nice card. So it's not numbered, but it is a PSA 10. $10, $11, $12,000 feels like a lot to me for a pop 97 and a PSA 10. Now, some of these inserts, the PSA 10 pop is like 20, 30, you know, there's like 9 of them or something. Makes a little bit more sense to me, but this one, it's popular. There was a sale for 10 grand here fairly recently for this card in a PSA 10. Stay on Michael Jordan because I've seen a lot of his autograph cards, these early Upper Deck cards, going back to early 2000s. Never seen this one though. I have never seen this one. Let me know in the comment section if you know this card. It is a 2001 Upper Deck buyback autograph, and it's a 10, so it's PSA 10 Pop 1. There's 4 that have been graded total. The autograph on this one looks really nice, not streaky or anything, and it is hand numbered to 23. Asking price at $30,000 or best offer. A lot of this stuff, when I look at kind of the early 2000s Upper Deck style, Jordan autos, they seem to fall kind of more in like the $5 to $10, maybe $5 to $15,000 range. This feels like a pretty big price tag for this card, but maybe it's one that doesn't pop up very often. It is hand numbered to 23. It is also a really clean autograph. It's got an auto 9 grade from PSA. Beautiful card. He's making kind of a funny face. It looks like he's about to make a move there to the basket. I like the card. I just had to post this one up because I've never seen this one before. Really like those early Upper Deck cards, early 2000 Upper Deck cards for Jordan. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. One of the hottest players in the entire NBA, and the pop count on this one actually surprised me a little bit. So they're asking $20,000 OBO, and it is a 2023 Panini 1 and 1, but it's not a 1 of 1. It's a 1 and 1, but it's not a 1 of 1 because there's 34 PSA 10s in existence. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like, is this a 1 of 1? But no. It's a 1 and 1 downtown. It surprises me that there's this many PSA 10s given the black border on this card. I would think that this would be really tough to gem with this black border. But there are 34 PSA 10s. There's 47 that have been graded so far in total. This is licensed rookie year stuff. Probably going to be a popular card, but man, 20 Gs. 20 Gs, OBO, of course. I'll see if I can find kind of a recent comp on it to try to get an idea, and I'll post it up here so that we can see kind of side by side what that looks like. But Wembanyama tearing up the league, and his cards are not slowing down in popularity. That's what we've got this week, friends. So make sure to take advantage of the PSA SCD25 promo code. Again, $25 off, just a 1 card minimum to try out PSA. Don't forget about all the different ways you can grade with PSA and take advantage of really frictionless selling, whether that's getting a PSA offer from PSA partners or if that is just selling directly via the vault through eBay without having to ship back and forth. That's one thing that's been really nice. I've sold cards directly from the vault through eBay without having to take them home, package them up, list them, sell them, ship them out. It saves a lot of time, a lot of convenience there. So don't forget all the different options you've got through PSA, through the vault, and through the eBay integration. Friends, have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.